Actually, maybe when I was around like 9, I moved to Chen Art Academy, which is really nearby where I live at least. It's near Ohlone Community College campus. And that was really where I started to learn more of the technical things, like actually how to hold a pencil, how to shade, where light and darks worked, and how highlights worked, and like anatomy and stuff. So I started with drawing and sketch, which was the lowest level class for younger students like myself at the time. And it was kind of similar to the backyard class, but with a little bit more technical things. Then I moved to graphite, which was with just pencil and paper. And then I moved to charcoal, which is the class I stayed in for the majority of my time there. I stayed in charcoal for about maybe 2 or 3 years, I think. And that was a really great class. I really recommend, if you're interested in art in general, I really recommend taking a charcoal class because it helps you understand lights and darks. Since you're purely working with black and white materials, it really helps you figure out or sort of understand light dynamics and how to draw shadows and highlights. And after I took the charcoal class for a couple of years, my teacher decided I was ready for Ichen's advanced AP art class. And that was when I sort of stopped learning, and it was more of exploration where I could decide what I wanted to draw. I didn't have to pick subjects based on techniques. Like I didn't have to pick animals because I wanted to learn how to draw fur, or I didn't have to pick photographs to copy because I wanted to like learn shadows and stuff. I could actually draw what I wanted, which was really nice. That was when I started really perfecting my digital artwork, but even though I had started a lot earlier, but AP art was where I started to do a lot more intense digital art. So I'll talk a little bit of how I transitioned from traditional to digital, because like I said before, I started with pencil and paper, and now I'm working almost, or I did traditional for around 5 years until I transitioned. I felt compelled to transition because I was really interested in digital concept art in like video games and movies. A lot of their work is done digitally, so a lot of the art that I was looking on online was all digital, and I kind of wanted to try it myself. And I was also really interested in anime, and anime is animated, like kind of like the name. And I was really interested in drawing some of that stuff myself because I felt like traditional art couldn't really like get the same feeling as animated or digital art. And then around the same time, I got my first iPad Air, which was when I started, I downloaded Procreate, which is an app I'll tell you guys about later on in this webinar. And after downloading Procreate, I started painting with my fingers. So usually digital artists use pencils, which I'll talk about later too, but I first started with my finger, which was really hard, but it was really interesting. And eventually, as I got more comfortable, I started buying new equipment, and then eventually now I'm 100% a digital artist. So now that I talked a little bit about myself and my sort of journey going from traditional to digital, I'll show you guys a little bit of my art. So these are going to be a couple of pieces from my AP drawing portfolio, which I submitted this year, and I scored a 5 on it. There are 2 parts. There's the sustained investigation and the selected works. You guys don't really need to worry about this until you actually take the class yourself if you want to, but the sustained investigation, basically you pick a topic and you sort of explore that topic through your art. And the selected work section is supposed to showcase your best art pieces, your best techniques and stuff. So I'll show you a couple pieces from each section. So this first one is called Halo. I drew it on Procreate. It took me around 4 hours. So yeah, this is the first piece of my AP drawing portfolio. My theme and idea was sort of to explore the darker emotions of humanity and paint them in a slightly more positive light, because I felt like these things, even though they could be really bad for, for your mental health and for everything, I felt like they were necessary for the human experience. And I kind of wanted to showcase that even though these things can be really detrimental and lead to harm, they're still needed for the human experience. So this is Halo, and the next one, this one I called it Ribbon Dancer. It took me 4 hours in Procreate also. Most of my work is all Procreate. I don't think I have anything that's not Procreate. Yeah, but this is exploring the same concepts. And this next one is, I called it Locked Away. It took me 6 hours, also on Procreate. For this one, I actually had to step a little bit outside of my comfort zone because it's male anatomy, and I am not familiar at all with male anatomy. So this was like my first experience drawing a male person, which I'm actually pretty proud of. I think I did okay considering I've never done it before. But yeah, it's exploring the same themes as before, sort of like a progression. I'm showing these in like a chronological order of when I drew them. So yeah. And this next one, I called it Reflection. It also took 4 hours. Um, yeah, this one is also a bit challenging for me because I'm not very good at environments either. I mostly focus on human subjects like people. So drawing this background or even thinking of backgrounds is very difficult for me. So yeah. And this is my the last piece I'm going to show you from my sustained investigation that is supposed to, explore themes through drawings. This one took 4 hours, and again, it was pretty challenging because I tried to do a background this time with the cityscape backdrop, but it was pretty fun. Yeah, I had to search up a lot of references to see how they blurred the lines and everything. And now I'm going to show you guys two pieces from my selected works, which are supposed to show your technique and your skill to sort of like prove like, oh, I'm good at drawing or something like that, to show the judges that you have advanced technique. So this is the leopard. I drew it in 2018 in my charcoal class at Each Art Academy. This is from a photo study. So I had a picture of a leopard and I basically just copied it onto a blank piece of paper on an easel. But I chose this piece because I think it really showed the way I could sort of emulate fur with charcoal and also my understanding of lights and darks of where I could how I could shape a human, or not human, but a living animal through black and white. And this next one right here, I think it's a chat message. Oh, Stella saw that before, yeah. Okay, so this one is called Balance. I did it in 2017 in my, is it 2017? Actually, I think it might be 2018. Sorry, that might be a mistake. But I did it in my AP art class. It's made on black sketchboard, which is basically like a black piece of paper, and you use special tools to sort of like draw lines, and they'll reveal like a white paper underneath. So the white lines are what I actually drew, and the black lines are just the paper. So this one, I tried to show how I sort of understood how to inverse the roles of drawing, where I have to actually draw the lights instead of drawing the darks like you usually do on a white piece of paper. And now I'll show you guys two more personal works that I have for myself, kind of so you can tell what really interests me and what my personal drawings are more geared towards, because they're very different than what I put in my sustained investigation drawings. So this is a fan art I made of a game that I really like to play, League of Legends. It's one of their character skins. I made it in 2019. It took me 6 hours. But yeah, I'm really inspired by fantasy and games in general, and I really like this character and her concept art, so I wanted to sort of bring it to life in my own way by drawing a fan art of her. So this idea is not mine. It's a copy from a game. And this next one is, it was sort of a stress relief drawing for me that I kind of took too far, but I don't mind. I like the way I shaded the hair a little bit. So it took me 5.5 hours. But yeah, I really like drawing action or fantasy themed characters. So this is kind of something like I would draw on a daily basis, sort of these kind of themes. So now that you guys have seen some of my work, I have a few tips for you guys, for you aspiring digital artists. So let's get into it. So my first tip is to find your style and your interest by observing and quote unquote copying. So I think a huge part of art is inspiration. Like anything can inspire you, from your family, your friends, nature outside, books, other people's art, shows, and games. So I think a big part of finding inspiration is to follow other artists and kind of see who you like, whose art you like, and sort of taking ideas from them and integrating them into your own style. Of course, you're not gonna claim their ideas as your own, but you can like get inspiration and sort of shape your style based on what you see in other art. Like I said before, you should make fan art. I think fan art, you shouldn't submit fan art to like classes or contests or things like that, because it doesn't really showcase any creativity since you're just really copying a design. But I think fan art is a really great way to sort of put a little bit of your own style on something you really like, and also hone your skills a little bit while drawing something that you enjoy instead of something that might be tedious, really focus on technicals, and really just not fun to draw, right? And my third tip is to draw this in your styles, which is really similar to fan art. Basically, there are these challenges on a lot of social media platforms where popular artists will post a drawing of their original characters and challenge their followers to draw that same character in their own style. So it's a really fun way to get integrated into the art community, and also to sort of do the same thing, hone your skills while also connecting with other artists and building a platform for yourself. And I'm pretty sure everyone has heard this before for everything, but you really do need to practice for art. Practice is a huge thing. You can't just look at other people's art and just think that's the only way you can get better. No, you need to practice and develop your own style. It took me around, I'd say, 2 years to develop a style. I know that sounds like a really long time, but during that time, I was just constantly switching styles. I was copying other artists' styles just to see kind of what I liked. And eventually, I was able to sort of figure out what I liked and didn't need to copy any artist or look for more like research or inspiration. But it does take a while and it does take a lot of practice. So keep that in mind. And in regards to copying, plagiarism is a really, really big thing in the art world, and it has a lot of consequences. So I have 3 golden rules for plagiarism that I personally like to follow. First of all, definitely do not claim others' ideas as your own. That's it's just complete plagiarism if you take someone's idea or take someone's character and claim it as your own, because you never came up with the idea yourself. And if you do fan art of something, like I did before with the game skin, you should give proper credit to that inspiration. Just a short description or a tag and like a picture that you post or something like that. And third of all, it's okay if your original ideas are similar to other people's. Like, I'm pretty sure there are very, very few completely, totally unique ideas in this world. We are constantly being inspired by so many different things. Of course, your ideas are going to have similar elements, but that doesn't mean you're copying, as long as you didn't go out of your way to take this certain element from someone else's ideas and integrate it into your own without giving proper credit. So moving on, I'll give you guys a few tips on how I personally practiced into becoming a digital artist. So I personally believe that to become a good digital artist, or the easiest way to get good at digital art, is to start with traditional art. Sure, it's going to take a bit longer than just starting out with digital art right away, but traditional art is a lot harder than digital art. Meaning, if you transition from traditional to digital, it'll be a lot smoother, it'll be a lot easier, and you'll probably have a lot more fun doing digital art. Basically, digital art has so many different tools and mechanics that real life does not. Like, you don't have an undo button in real life, or an eraser that you can change the size to the pixel, or all the different brushes that you could ever imagine, right? In real life, you don't have those things. So that's why it's a lot harder to draw traditionally than digitally. So I personally believe starting with the hard stuff and then getting to the easy stuff kind of makes it more fun and a lot easier to get into digital art. So if you want to start traditionally, even if you want to start digitally also, a really important thing is to get your foundations very, very strong. So like I said before about finding your style, yes, you should do that. But first, you need to understand how actual human anatomy, how actual light works on objects, right? So I recommend starting off with still life drawings, photo studies, figure drawings, and scribble challenges. So still life drawings are basically like, you could take this water bottle right here and you just set it on your desk, you put a little light on it so that you have a light source, and then you just sit there and you copy the exact shape and shadow of the bottle, right? That's a still life drawing. You copy objects from real life. And a photo study is like how I drew the leopard, where you take a picture and you just copy it onto the drawing. Figure drawing is to help with anatomy. So you could either, sometimes they hold events, or people hold events, figure drawing events, where someone is hired as a figure model. Well, they'll just stand in the center of a room, and then all the other artists just surround him and draw like him, right? Or you can take pictures online of people and you just draw them. That's supposed to help you a lot with anatomy, which is a really big, it's a really hard thing for a lot of artists, I believe. Anatomy is really difficult, but with practice, it's not that bad. And finally, scribble challenges are really fun. We did them a lot at UC Art Academy. So basically, you could, either you do it or someone else does it. You just draw a random scribble on a piece of paper really fast, and then you have to think of a way to turn that scribble into a complete drawing. So I have some examples here of scribble drawings that I made at UC and my teacher. I don't know if you guys can see. So this is a scribble drawing that I made at UC Art Academy. Let me see if I can chase the scribble. So I think the scribble went from like here down and then like waved here. I think that was the original scribble, and then I turned it into this for the challenge. And this is from my art teacher. He did one himself. So this is his. His looks really nice, right? So his scribble, I'm pretty sure it went from here around the nose, around the lips, and the chin, and up that way. I think that's how his scribble was. I can't remember exactly, but these are supposed to really help you with exercising your creativity, because you basically make something from nothing, right? Also, to help with making final completed drawings, I really recommend practicing thumbnails. So thumbnails are a really great way to help you organize your artistic thoughts. Basically, if you're trying to start like a final piece, you take all your ideas in your head and you dump them onto a piece of paper. So every single idea you have, no matter if it's good or bad, just draw a tiny little, maybe like 4-inch by 4-inch really quick sketch of what it would look like on the final piece, and then write some notes about what's going on in there. Do that maybe like 5 times, and then out of all those 5 thumbnails, pick one you really like and then draw that one. Like, it's a really great way to filter out the bad ideas in your head, because usually your first idea, it could be good, but usually your first idea could always be better. So that's a really good way to develop your ideas and also sort of filter out the bad ones. And it's okay to have bad ones. And my final tip for practicing is, once you have all the foundations down, or most of the foundations down, and you're pretty confident in like your style and you have something that you really like, you should perfect it. Like for me, I really, really enjoyed female anatomy. I just find it so elegant. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but I really like drawing female anatomy. So after I graduated, or not graduated, but during the charcoal class on my own side projects, I was drawing a lot of female figures, a lot of girls, a lot of, basically a lot of female figures. And eventually I came to perfect it, and I developed my style from practicing that one thing that I liked a lot. Sure, I have a lot of shortcomings in like male anatomy, like I said, and environments, but if you're really good at one thing, that's already really impressive. And then you can always apply the things that you learn by practicing that one thing to other subjects, right? Okay, so moving on. So these are some pictures from my own sketchbook that I have. The ones on the left are me practicing hands. Hands are notoriously hard in the art world. There are so many tutorials about drawing hands, but like I said, just practice. I just searched up a bunch of hand references, and I just draw them in my free time on my sketchbook. And then the two on the right are thumbnails for some projects I had in my AP art class. So you can see I only had 3 thumbnails for each of the drawings, but you can see like they're tiny little boxes, right? And I sketch my idea in them, I write some notes on the side, and at the very end, I pick the one that I really like and I develop it even more. So, yeah. And then these are some more thumbnails for my AP art class. You see the one on the left? I chose that one in the very end. So I had 3 ideas, but in the end I chose the one on the very left for my black scratchboard piece that I showed you guys earlier. But yeah, thumbnails also, even if you have some bad ideas and some good ideas, you can pick multiple good ideas. Like after I finished the balance piece on the left, I went on to make I think it was a printmaking project of the second thumbnail, the one with the planets. So like it's also a good way to just write out all your ideas for future reference also. Okay, so my final tip for quote practice, I guess, is building communities. So there's a huge community of artists on basically every single social media platform. And then there are also a lot of different apps that are meant for like art sharing. So I use DeviantArt, and I also use this one app called Pagey World, but I'm pretty sure they took it down because I couldn't find it anymore. But it was just, I really liked sharing my art. I wanted feedback, and I wanted to get to know other artists. So DeviantArt, ArtStation, and CG Society are really good places for art. The last 2 are better for digital art, but they're also used professionally by like hired artists, right? So some of the art you'll see on there is really, really, really good, and that might be daunting at first, but don't be shy, just put your art on there. There's a lot of other people who are also starting out just like you, and eventually surrounding yourself with better artists only makes you want to become just like them, right? And also you have your normal social media like Instagram, Facebook. Those are also really great too, and they're more relaxed, less art orientated apps, but it's still really good to reach out on those. And also building art communities gives you a lot of access towards contests and draw this in your style challenges, and a lot of people that you can get feedback from. Feedback is really important because I don't know if you guys have started drawing yet, but if you stare at your own drawing for multiple hours or even just 1 hour, after some period of time, you kind of become numb to like what's in front of you, and you can't really tell what's wrong with it. Sometimes you have to step back for like 30 minutes and then come back. But if you have other people in your community who can just give you a quick tip on what to fix, that's also really, really helpful. So I have some tips on art supplies because I know art supplies can be really, really expensive, especially the really good ones. So I think most important is to invest in sketchbooks. Like if you really want to be good at art, at some point you're gonna have to stop like drawing on 8.5 by 11-inch printer paper all the time, right? I used to do that a lot, but after getting a sketchbook, it organizes a lot of your work and it makes it easier. And one tip that my teacher gave me that has stuck with me ever since, basically for 3 years now, he said, make mistakes in your sketchbook, because if you don't make your mistakes, they're gonna stay in your head forever and they're gonna show up in your actual work. So he says it's okay if your sketchbooks look really, really bad, because that's kind of the point of a sketchbook. You're supposed to sketch all your ideas, no matter if they're good or bad, just so you can sort of get it onto a piece of paper and even reference later on. But I do recommend also making one portfolio sketchbook, which is where you have all your finished pieces. So it's not even like an actual sketchbook. It's like a collection of all your finished works, because in the future, a lot of programs and a lot of schools we'll look at the sketchbook and kind of, it'll be really helpful in getting into certain programs or into certain schools. And I know one really prestigious school, I think it's CalArt. Yeah, CalArt requires a sketchbook, a fully complete final piece sketchbook. and the whole thing has to be filled with full and complete art. And I know it's really, really hard and really notoriously difficult. I have some friends who would like rip out the last few pages of their sketchbook because they just couldn't finish it in time. So it's really hard. You don't have to start now. I know you guys are all pretty young, so you don't have to start now, but it's something like it's a practice that could be useful. And I personally, my favorite sketchbook is the Strathmore Tone Tan. Let me see if I can grab one really quick. So I have I have around 5 of these sketchbooks over the years. It looks like this. This one's pretty big, but I really like this one because when I did digital art, I really liked doing white outlines on my art. Let me see if I can find something. Like I really liked drawing white outlines along the edges, and then that wouldn't really show up on like white paper. So I wanted to use a tanned color print or a tanned paper to do that instead. So that's why I like this one. But it all depends on your own personal preference. But this is just one that I like a lot. And for your traditional art, I used Copic markers and Prismacolor pencils, and I'll talk about digital art supplies next, but those are usually, you don't have as much because most of your supplies are in your program, right? They include all your brushes, all your colors, all your paints, all your tools. So now let's get into that. So I'll tell you guys a bit about my favorite drawing softwares for tablets and computers. So I use the iPad Pro Gen 3 plus the Apple Pencil. So this is my iPad right here that I use. It's pretty big. It's like almost a foot, I guess. And then I use the normal Apple Pencil for it. So my favorite app is Procreate, and it costs money. I think it's around $5 to $8. I can't remember exactly, but if you're really into drawing, it is a really, really good investment. It's a really great app. I know professional artists who use this app themselves, like people who work at famous game companies or designers who use this app for their work, like their actual work that they publish. But if you don't want to buy an app, the last 3 are all free. Autodesk Sketchbook, Adobe Sketch, and IBIS Paint X are all free to use for the iPad. IBIS Paint X or Adobe Sketch is kind of similar to Photoshop, which I'll talk about next, but it's not exactly the same. I still think Procreate is the best out of all of them, and I really think it is worth the $5 to $8. I've had Procreate ever since I started drawing on digitally, and it's 100% worth it in my opinion. So also for the pencil, for the iPad, I really like this Apple Pencil. I think the Apple Pencil is just perfectly fine for drawing. But for computers, I have a Surface Book 2 laptop that I use. I know a lot of friends who use Photoshop for their art on their computers. I don't really use my computer that much for art. I just do it for fun sometimes. So I downloaded the free ones, which are Fire Alpaca and Krita. Those are free, and so far in my experience, they're pretty good. But if you have the money to spare to buy Photoshop, I think it's pretty expensive actually. I'm not sure. But if you do have the money to spare to buy Photoshop, it is a really powerful application, and it has a lot more capabilities than Procreate, but I think Procreate works just fine also in my opinion. So I'm not really too eager to get Photoshop for myself, but I do know a lot of friends who use this for their drawing, and it's a very powerful application. So now that I've told you all my tips and my own art experience, what would I recommend you to do right now? So I'm assuming all of you are pretty young, right? I personally think while you're young, you don't really need to be practicing to get good. Obviously, practice in it of itself will get you better, right? But I think right now you just need to get interested in art. You need to find things that you really like to draw and just draw them. Find other artists, find inspiration, like I said, and just draw it. Like it doesn't have to be a complete coherent idea. You could draw some random thing from your dream or anything, but just get interested, because if you're not dedicated and you're not really interested and focused on drawing, later on when you get to the actual technical things, like the actual where you have to sit down and you have to draw things that you're not really interested in, but just for the sake of learning how to do something, that's going to be really difficult if you don't like what you're doing, right? So get interested and get motivated to get better at drawing right now, and then take some fun classes. Like I had that backyard class that wasn't really actually a class, it was just me drawing for fun. Or you can start it at some place like Echen Art Academy and Drawing and Sketch, where we were doing cartoon drawings, we were making cities, and we were drawing characters. Like I wasn't really practicing anything technical, but it was just really, really fun. And then that sort of excitement carried through all the way until now. And I'm still really excited about drawing things, even if it's not fantasy or it's not video games, things that I really like. I just want to get better. So as a final note, drawing is not a fast, easy, nor definite process. Like I said, it took me 10 years so far, and I'm not the best. Like there are so many people who are better than me. There are so many places I have to get, to practice. But like I said, you don't have to follow my tips, all of my ideas. You don't have to go from traditional to digital. You could go from digital to traditional, or you could just start with digital. It doesn't matter. You don't have to ever do traditional if you don't want to. Like all these things, it's all up in the air, right? You don't have to do anything definite, but just remember that this is not going to be it's not going to be fast. It's going to take a while, and hopefully it's something that you'll keep forever as a hobby, even if you don't intend on pursuing it in like college or anything. So with that said, thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, we can go ahead and start the Q&A, right?
All right, so like Sylvia said, this is the end of the official webinar. So if you guys have any questions, like any at all, it can be related to art, it can be just like anything, I guess. You can either type it into the chat or you can like say it out loud, and we'll be answering a few of those right now. All right, so we already have one question in the chat. It was a private chat. And the question is, are there any artist communities specifically for students?
For students, you mean like art students, or just like younger students, like elementary schoolers or middle schoolers?
Well, I just like students in general, so like a student-only art community.
Oh, student-only art community. You could actually join some. I know there are some things like there was a summer program called CISA, which primarily consists of high school students, like sophomores, freshmen, and juniors. Because CISA is a summer program at, I forgot what school it was at, but it's for basically students, and you can join that group even if you're not a CISA student, and sort of get tips and get feedback from CISA students and other people in there, even though you're not actually like a part of the CISA group. So there are groups like that. Also, just in general, art groups, even if you're not a student, uh, it's not really important whether you're a student or not. Most art groups function the same, even if you're older, like a professional, or younger, like a student. Yeah.
All right, so the next question also in the chat, did you ever do like commissions or like did you sell your work at all?
Oh, yeah, I did commissions for friends, and sometimes, I think once or twice, for like random people online. I didn't do it for money though. I just did it for just for fun. So I don't really have a lot of experience in pricing, but if I were to think about it right now, honestly, I'd go around and I'd ask like people I know. Like I'd literally go up to and ask them like, how much would you pay for this? I'm not telling you like you need to pay for it, but like if you wanted to buy this, how much would you pay for it? And also like I would lowball first, because art is not like a necessity. Do you know what I mean? Art is not something that people go to the grocery and buy, right? So art is not usually on someone's top priority to buy. So you don't want to make it super expensive, because that just drives away customers, right? So I first lowball it and slowly and gradually increase prices. Yeah. So I start like that.
All right, it's cool. And I think another question.
Oh, okay. How much you say is a lowball? Um, Okay, well, I'd say like a full body commission, you mean like you draw like a full character plus color plus shading and all that, like a full color, full body color drawing. I'd say most professional artists I see price those at around like $40 for a commission. But I'd say lowball it to around like 75% of that. Or like, let me think. Yeah, but if you're not like a professional, right, you might have your full body priced at maybe like 20 or 10. I'd say lowball it by around 80%. Like go down a couple dollars, just see how that works. And also you can look at other people who do commissions and like people who have similar art level as you and how much they price their commissions, so you can kind of base it off like that.
Right. Next question. How can you teach yourself how to draw without going to any classes?
Okay, yeah. So a lot of artists are actually self-taught. I had the privilege of being able to afford classes and going to classes, right? But also, a lot of people are self-taught just by practicing, and also online there are a lot of tutorials. Like on Instagram, I have my own like save file of anatomy tips and like YouTube videos of drawing tutorials and how to draw certain things. So you can actually like just watch those. Like those are classes in and of themselves. And also just practice is a really, really good way to get better and be your own class kind of.
All right, cool. And then a question from Janelle in the chat. Are there any light figure drawings or like places that you would prefer to go to?
I never went to a live figure drawing because I find it really uncomfortable, and then I feel like they move a lot, so it was kind of hard for me to copy. I normally look online, but I have friends who go. I think there's one in Berkeley. I'm pretty sure they're all shut down right now because of coronavirus. But before I heard, my friends go to. There's one. Yeah, there's one at Berkeley. I'm not sure. I can find the information after this meeting and send it to you if you would like.
All right, cool. And then the next question, how would you do the transition from digital to traditional
Okay, so from digital to traditional art, it doesn't really you can learn anatomy, you can learn sketching, you can learn all of those from digital art. The only thing that digital art doesn't really teach is sort of textures and how to manipulate your medium kind of, because on like digital art on the iPad you just need a pencil and you just need to change your pressure, the pressure that you apply to the pencil to change like opacity or something. But like on your paper you might have to hold the pencil in different angles or something to achieve a different stroke. So going from digital to traditional, I think would be best is to kind of like almost start over, sort of. You can keep the same sketching and anatomy skills, but you kind of need to relearn how to use your brush a little bit, which comes with practice. And also, let me think. Yeah, you can also search up tools online, or not tools, but like videos online that give you tips on how to sort of shade using traditional materials, because digital drawing materials are really easy to shade. You don't really need to like prepare anything in advance to learn it.
art? All right. The next question from Alicia in the chat. Can you talk a little bit more about your major in UCB?
Okay, so I was admitted to UC Berkeley for the College of Letters and Sciences, which means I'm technically declared undeclared. Like as of right now, I have no major. But basically, for the next 2 years, I'll take classes for any subject that I want, and at the end of or at the beginning of my third year, I will declare as a certain major. So right now, I'm taking computer science classes, and once I finish all those prerequisites, then I'll be able to declare in my third year. But I'm also planning on minoring in art. So I'm kind of doing both CS and art, and hopefully I'll be able to study something like a hybrid. Like I hope to go into UX design, which is kind of like product design and user experience design. So it's not exactly like concept art like I was drawing in my AP art portfolio, but it's something similar, and I think it's something I'm interested in. Yeah.
All right, next question, also in the chat. What is your Instagram art account?
Oh, okay. So I have an Instagram art account. I don't promote it that often. I just post my art there for my friends to see. But if you guys would like, I can type it into the chat and you guys can go check it out. Let me just type it
And
really quick.
also, I will be sending an email to everybody. I think everybody in TYE, and I can like include that contact or that information on there
Oh
too.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, but you
So
can.
this is the at, yeah. So I just post my art. I'll think you like half of it I've already shared with you guys on this slide, but there's some other stuff you guys can go check out.
All right, and I think the last question for today, we kind of want to keep it short. We're in about 45 minutes. It's from Janelle. Do you think applying to UCs is a benefit if I want to major in art, or should I apply to like a specific art school?
I think I personally think you should apply to an art school. Like if you're really dedicated to art and you want to strictly go into art or like strictly go into illustration or concept design or CGI animation or something like that, you should go to an art school because those will have big names in the industry compared to like a UC. But if like I personally didn't want to go strictly into art because my parents always told me I'd become a starving artist, but yeah, so I wanted to do a hybrid of computer science and art. So that's why I went to a UC. But if I was going to do strictly art, I would apply to an art school. Like I know a lot of my friends who went to the AP art class at Each and Art Academy. They applied to the Art Center, they applied to CalArt, they applied to Ringling's College of Art and Design, something like that. Yeah, so they went to strictly art schools.
All right, so I think I just promised that was the last question, but there was like one more. So this is also in the chat. Are any of your parents or is your parents good at drawing or basically arts?
So my dad is not. He does not know how to draw anything. My mom, she was pretty good at it, but she did mostly tracing. So like her face, when she drew a girl, her girls look all the same. Like she could only draw one face. And then her other art, she usually like trace a picture or something, but they still look pretty good. So yeah.
That's cool. All right, so like I mentioned, that would be the last question. And of course, if you guys have like specific questions or if you think of anything after the webinar, you can, well, I'll include Sylvia's contact, I guess, information into the email so you can reach out to her privately with any questions. But as of now, this will be the end of the webinar. Hopefully you guys had fun, learned something new. Thanks so much for coming. And we will, of course, send out the email and keep you all updated on our new guest speakers coming in the next few weeks. So again, thanks for coming and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.